Welcome everyone. It's Alkmity speaking, and we're back with some Civilization World Cup highlights. This is week four, an absolutely crucial match for both teams here between CivKorea, so 6 centimeters, and Civfr for Ulysse, as any of them could technically go to semifinals if they win. So let's go straight into it. It was a continent island map. Here we see Ulysse playing Victoria already on the spawn, but it was a map very focused around naval civilizations and naval warfare. For the Korean team on this huge landmass with Micro here playing Scotland. And next to him, we had actually an amazing spawn for White Love on Japan as well. So the Korean team was quite lucky for this on the spawn, we could say. But Gandhi Destroyer wasn't too far from a good city states as well for the French team here, playing Ottomans. And he was next to his ally Abed on the other continent, which was playing Dido as well. Going back on the main continent here, we had France, played by Korea actually for Thierry, and Atmosphere on Indonesia as well to secure the seas as soon as possible. That was the game plan for them. But there was a Roraima and a Kilimanjaro in France, so an amazing spawn for France here. Even though Kilimanjaro even erupted to get even better tiles, so it was absolutely amazing. But the point tunnel was actually on the Civfr team if they wanted to. Another notable fact is that there was a way to cross north and south of the continent as well, so the naval warfare was an option for both teams here on any ocean they wanted. And finally, there was the Galapagos Islands, which will be used a little bit by Lej. Overall, in the early game, there was actually not much action here. Some fate found by the Ulysse to guarantee an early Pantheon if you wanted one. I'll show you some images like Roraima being settled by France and so on. And there was actually a race between the Artemis Temple between the Korean and French team, and France won with Ottoman getting it in the early game. Lej decided to put in place Sphinx Sim for cultural victory as well in the future. And there was a Deluxe which actually made a huge move as well to block the scout to basically deny the scouting from the Korean team on his land. So very well played. But overall, as I said, not much action, just some simming. It was very crucial to get as much science and gold as possible in the early game to get to those ships as early as possible, because it was expected that the battle would be won on sea, really, given how the map was panned out and how the players actually played this one. Amazing land on France, really amazing land on the Korean team. But the sim was from Lej on Egypt was actually very good as well with this river here, setting up this cultural victory. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Ottoman was being played, so a little odd situation, but not very odd for this tutorial, which he likes to get this in his back pocket. And finally, we got Lisbon taken as well in the middle of the Central Ocean by the Ulysse Philippe to be able to get more control over the sea over there. So overall, you can see that it's only until France managed to get these courses up that he tried to put some pressure on the Ulysse Philippe on the other side. I remind you, Ulysse Philippe was technically all alone against the Korean team on this, because they were four on this continent. He was by himself, but he was looking in pencil on his side, so it was a way to defend. But the pressure was very intense. He lost many units. He forced a lot of units production on the part of Deluxe, but he managed to not lose any cities because they lacked any siege like ram or catapults from France on front shore. The pre-builds were getting ready for the naval fight on this other side here. Abel as well. I'm going to show you the huge train of ships that is coming very soon. And Lej was getting cities on the coast to be able to have an impact on this game as well, navally speaking, if you wanted to. So you just saw the huge train of ships, but that was the case both for the Civfr team and the Korean team here. As you can see, Atmosphere actually was preparing his caravels and Johns. And look at this, Atmosphere actually catching a belt out of guard and crushing a lot of pre-builds. So already an early victory for Atmosphere. And from now on, it's going to be a huge naval fight, one of the biggest we've had this tournament. And it's going to last for over 40 to 50 turns. So we're going to comment this battle, really, as there was units being produced and moved almost every second, really, of every turn. Huge shout out to Hashka, which was casting this game. It was very hard to follow up on all of that. Japan got to the game as well. He prepared his own pre-builds to try to this, as Atmosphere was basically in 2 versus 1 up to that point. Destroyer managed to get Newton, in the middle of this, so he managed to actually get some aeroscience, and Civfr managed to push back the Jongs, even though they made a lot of damage on the Civfr team. But the amount of ships Civfr had was absolutely monstrous, amazing. So it was really all on the Korean side to try to defend this. On the other side, the Ulysse actually had the naval also set up for the other continent as well. Let's go back around Antioch where most of the action happened. And you can see the Korean team really put under pressure, and they were fully coastal in Indonesia and Japan, so they absolutely had to kind of like control this choke. And somehow, YH had one of the best games of his tournament here. He managed to try to temporize the northern front, and Antioch was saved for now. But there was still a huge, massive ships from Civfr over Japan. But Japan had this +5 combat strength bonus being on the coast, and with those small islands, it actually acted like an admiral, which was an amazing feat. Amazing is he managed to kill many ships. But was it too little? Because it was really hard. There was a lot of ships on the opposite side. So overall, Whiteshaw had to back off a little bit and try to strategize on which ship he should kill when. Discern lost most of his Barbary Corsair, the unique unit for Ottomans here, and Abed actually lost many ships but had many left over, and obviously Antioch was far from being safe from this point. This being said, somehow Wyacheslav actually managed to take back the front once again and kill most of the ships facing him, giving a small time to breathe actually for Indonesia to prepare his own second fleet as he had lost his first one. This whole time, it was a very tense fight. Nobody would know actually who would win this one, but another wave of Japanese ship arrived along with the pre-builds from the other team as well. You can see the huge, even ships from all the way from England were coming to help in this fight. And may I remind you the odds here? Whoever wins this battle probably wins the game, and whoever wins the game probably has a shot at going to semifinals. So it was absolutely all in one basket. Each team had actually had to win this fight if they wanted to qualify for the next round. It was really that critical. Barbary Corsairs from Destroyer managed to sneak in, do some pillage to scouting is also very well played for him, but he got caught eventually by the YH here. And behind this, Les was doing his cultural victory, trying to win before they would probably lose this naval fight. And YH, look at this, managed to advance and completely push back the entire fleet from Civfr. So an amazing feat here. Almost 1 versus 2. He did it. The reinforcements were slowly coming for Abed. He managed to set up a defensive front between the Galapagos and the island. But would it be enough? And unfortunately, it wasn't. We weren't sure, but the +5 combat strength for being on the coast from Japan was just too much to deal with. And unfortunately, the destroyer on the north couldn't do much either with his ships. They were just not strong enough for this naval fight. In reaction, Lash tried to get some walls up, tried to get some frigates and ships up to try to defend, but it was just too little too late. As you can see, the Korean team actually was progressing and killing more and more ships. Each turn, at least 3 or 4 ships were falling for the Civfr team, and it was absolutely critical that they would find a way to control this front again. Even though they had a huge line of ships, this position is absolutely crucial to hold, and they really did not have the numbers to do it. On top of it, the Jongs were coming as a second wave, and look at the sim behind this, absolutely amazing from Japan and Indonesia. They were ready for the mid game as well. While the sim from Destroyer was okay as well, but Lej sim was getting to cultural victory, so he had not focused at all on naval warfare. He was focusing only on his allies here to try to win this fight. And the Jongs finally flanked the southern flank actually and blocked all the reinforcements, allowing YH to finish the cities for the Japanese player here. On top of it, the Korean team went on the battlefield against England with some Garde Impériale, so it was really difficult for the French team. They were really on the back foot. They really couldn't defend most of those fronts. It was really difficult for them. The Barbary Corsair just couldn't hold it, and there was an attempt on the destroyer to go for a rush electricity to get his submarines early, but it just wasn't early enough. Although the cuirassiers actually finally got up for Abel on Dido here, so they were trying to get them in place before they would entirely lose the naval fight. And could they make it? They weren't sure, so they were rush into it as much as they could. The sim from Japan, as I said earlier, was very original and worked out very well, so very well played from YH Love. And look at this. Finally, Swanet, the position is finally overrun. At this point, the walls are falling down, the ships are going down. The Jongs are finishing up the Kubari Corsair to the north. So Abed had to come to try to save the day, and it just was too little, too late. There was only a few carols left though for Wyatt Love, but it was enough to finally get the city up, so city down. I'm sorry. So overall, a victory for Korea, but they had to back off now as they had lost most of their navy in this naval warfare. With the cuirasses coming, they had to find a way to temporize and just wait until their own cuirasses were ready. Micro was doing his own science behind this, trying to get to planes and the science victory eventually. Another barbaric corsair gets caught by Wildshove here, and the Gallant Imperial actually arrived on the Lux Philippe, which was unfortunately not ready enough to get them, and we'll lose a lot of units and we'll lose a lot of cities as well. So the pressure was very on. But finally, Abel got his ships in place and one shot the enemy ships. That turned the tides of the war for this front. Even though they had lost the cities on this side, the ships from Abel could probably turn the tides here. We see here the city from England falling and Antioch fall as well on the other side for Indonesia. So they really had, the Korean had to manage to find a way to gain time, get cuirassiers of their own to be able to defend this and to try to actually find a way to win back this fight as they critically needed this. As you can see, like all the land from Indonesia was coastal, same for Japan. They really couldn't afford to lose it. Finally, the submarines got out for this year as well. And look at the sim for this cultural victory from Lej. Absolutely amazing. It was putting a timer for the current team. So the current team was now on the back foot. They were now behind. And Atmosphere started to lose cities, unfortunately, even though he had an amazing game, this one. Though Micro had not said the final words and got his planes out and went on the Philippe on the other side of the map to try to raise some cities of his, and will manage to do so. And another city falls from Indonesia, and from this point on, Japan decided to focus on his own defense and got his own navy and fleet and abandoned entirely Indonesia to make sure that they'd be able to at least defend one of those two players. And he did an amazing defense, by the way, used the terrain, and again, masterclass from White Love, which managed to get ships, even though it was inferior in numbers. The terrain was in his favor, and he had the fleet finally to get the ships that he wanted. I barely tried to go through, but unfortunately it wasn't too little, it wasn't enough, and the Korean team was still in the game. But the coastal victory was completely imminent, it couldn't be stopped, the sea was rising as well, the naval warfare was very difficult, and really, we could predict it, as HK did, for the victory.
Moi je pense que c'est fini. Oh, allez, c'est fini. C'est fini. C'est fini, mesdames et messieurs. C'est la victoire de Civfr.
If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe, hit thumbs up, and so on. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next time for the new highlights.